Welcome to the Colored Only Café. With Darshan Farad giving us our world news, Bro Pete, the Empress Lydia Percy, Sonny B. Sutherland Sr., and you, the black community. Welcome to the Colored Only Café, where the conversation is always hot, black, and strong.
All right. Welcome, folks. Come on in. Come right on into the Colored Only Cafe on this very, very wonderful Wednesday in New York City. It's a very nice day today. I'm just loving the weather, and I just, had the opportunity to really go on a really good long walk today. And that felt good, and I hope some of you had the opportunity to do that. Hey, we had a show debut right before this program. Some people are still on. It was really a fantastic, fascinating show, a welcome program. Folks, right now I want you to put on your calendar that every Wednesday at 8 o'clock, you want to tune right in on the GoPro Radio Network for this really fantastic show, The Price of Oppression. He had two fascinating guests. Jose Rivera, I believe he's running for office out in the Bronx. And we know if you live in New York City, the Bronx needs some better and some new and some fresh leadership with some really good ideas. And, he sounded like he was hitting all the right notes, and sometimes you need that young energy. So he was a guest on the program. And then we had another brother there just really breaking down the digital coin process, the Forex exchange. And so, folks, if you really want to, tune in for the financial tune-up, you definitely want to be here every Wednesday at 8 o'clock for The Price of Oppression with Yaku. He is a fascinating and fantastic individual who really put together, I think, an incredible first show. And folks who are listening into the show and heard it, you'll be able to download the show tomorrow. Usually it's a 24-hour period. You'll be able to download by going to GoProRadio.com. And guess what? We make these podcasts absolutely free because we are listener-supported radio. That means that you guys fuel us. We're here because of you. And we've been able to not only survive the shadow banning and all the other kind of shenanigans that happens because of you. You've been really telling your people about it and sharing. And, they warn you against this, They say, well, people don't support, people that know you, that whole idea of being familiar with you, people just buy the ads, the meta ads, the Google ads, and that's the way to grow. And how that works, a lot of people might not quite understand it. It's like, do you know that you've been populating the Facebook and the Google? You populate that with your friends. You've been doing that over years. When you're posting pictures, you invite your friends, you collect them. And what they do, Facebook, that's why I call it Facebook, and all these other folks, you know what they do? They give you access to a limited number of your friends. So a lot of times when you're posting things, and you say, okay, all my friends are going to see you. How come my friends aren't responding? Because a lot of your friends that you help populate, even if you have 5,000 friends, 7% of the people get a chance to see your content that you posted, or if you're having an event or whatever. So we've been able to just kind of get the numbers. I'm talking about thousands of people watching us on the GoPro Radio Network, watching us on Facebook and stuff because of your effective word of mouth, and we're so appreciative of that. Anyway, welcome. My name is Tylon. You see, if you're watching, I'm joined by my good brother and Dr. Ron Christopher Osborne Williams. He's in the house doing a lot of back-end work. We're going to have a really terrific program today, chock full of information. We have guests coming in, loading in. I see my good brother Deshaun. I want to say hello to and welcome Deshaun Farad in the room. I want to say what's up, brother Pete, who brings the heat. He's in the room. Lydia Percy, who also has a program on our network. You don't want to miss it this week, and I'm going to talk about it right now. She has Lee Odom, and I know a lot of folks know who that is. She's a saxophonist. She plays the clarinet. She plays so many wonderful jazz instruments. She is going to be here on our network in the house on Lydia's Lyrical Lounge this coming Thursday at 10 o'clock as part of a ladies' night. Lydia starts off ladies' night, and right after her show, of course, we have DJ Blanco Negra doing Rooted to Music. But you don't want to miss Lee Odom. Lee Odom is absolutely fascinating and just a terrific individual. We're going to be able to hear some of her music and actually see her in person and be able to hopefully ask a couple of questions. So Lydia's in the house. I want to say hello to Sharon. She's in the house. I want to say hello to Jacqueline and Amanda. They are in the house. I want to give a big shout out to Sinmi. He's in the house. I believe he's one of the guests today. And also, see, iPhone, put your name in the whatchamacallit, because sometimes the engineer will see you and he'll boot you out because he'll think you're a troll or something like that. So just put your first name. You have to give your last name. So if you get called on, and we may want to ask you a couple of questions or ask you to make a comment, or you may want to express a concern, you can be a part of it. And also, folks who are checking us out on Facebook, oh, we got quite a few people checking us out on Facebook. If you want to join in on the conversation today, you can, and we made it fast and easy for you to do so. All you have to do is go to GoProRadio.com. When you go to GoProRadio.com, all you have to do is click on that Join Live button. And that is really like the easiest, the fastest, and safest way to join us here in the room. And you can have your voice heard. And you can not only, ask questions, you can make comments, or even let us know about something that you think we ought to talk about, or know about in our community, right? Because that's how we used to do it. We used to keep each other informed. And this is a safe space for you to do just that. Let us know what's happening in your neighborhood, in your community, and bring some of those folks here so that we can really galvanize and bring together our community, like we used to, But welcome everyone. I hope everybody is doing well and fine. And, a lot of times people say, how are you doing? I tell people every day above ground is a good day. I know that holds very distinct meaning for a lot of us who have lost people, and my heart once again goes out to our regular Sonny B. Sutherland, who I know he's working through and healing, and I send him positive and healing energy so that he can join us once again and once more because his voice is very interesting and necessary and needed, We need a diversity of ideas and thoughts, and so these ideas can also be challenged. And, one thing that we say here, you might be challenged, but you're not going to be attacked. So, once again, welcome here. And I'm going to just turn it over to my good brother, Deshaun, and maybe he has some news to report. And I want to ask Deshaun before we start, did you see the Michael Jackson movie yet? Did you get a chance to see it?
No, sir. I haven't seen it, but it's getting great reviews, and people are actually treating it like a cult classic. You have people that are going there the way that, how when Michael or some other phenomenal celebrity is having a concert, phenomenal, we're actually treating it like, people are going to see it 2 times.
Yeah.
The movie's getting good, but the family likes it. But who did they exclude? I think there was controversy.
Janet.
Anyway,
I think Janet wasn't in it or something like that.
Right. Here's the thing: the family likes it. The family they approve of it. They approve of it, brother. But no, I haven't seen it. I'm planning to see it, but I haven't seen it as of yet.
Yeah. I heard that it's on track to make over $1 billion. It's going to be $1 billion box office, and they're talking about some of the performances on track for getting nominated for certain awards and things like that. I just like to tell people that although it's making billions, you got to also say making billions for who. I'm glad that it's making money. What did you say, Deshaun?
I said exactly. Can you hear me? Did I freeze or something?
Yeah. You froze up. You froze up a little bit, Deshaun. I couldn't hear you. Your connection. You might want to check.
1 second, Tom. I'm on another live. Hold on. I'm gonna have to switch. Okay, 1 second there. I'm gonna have. Hold on.
Yeah, because we need to hear Deshaun. We need to hear his voice. We need to hear his clarity. We need his thoughts. I want to check in with my good brother, Dr. Ron. You know, he was in town. I want to definitely say hello to Dr. Ron. Ron, did you get a chance? I know you was busy this weekend because you had a live performance. Did you get a chance to see the Michael Jackson movie now?
No, I didn't. I didn't.
What's the feedback you've been getting from people?
I think the kind of feedback that you normally get from the white racist society who wants to continue to have every negative aspect about us, and looking at us in the negative content. Um, that why don't you talk about any of the negative stuff? Why do you just talk about the great times of making the Thriller album? Because that's what the movie was about. It wasn't about any other time. The movie ended before that time frame. So, my biggest gripe is that you have tons. If you want to watch a movie about Michael Jackson and alleged controversies, issues, alleged, as I like to call them, alleged extortion of him, of his kindness of being
Mm-hmm.
humanitarian. There's plenty of them to watch. You can go watch. There's more of them than this one. So that's the biggest controversy I can see. But that's usually anything that's going to have a positive outlook, positive light for us as a people. It's always going to be saying, hey, where's the negative? Because we
Right.
want to bring that narrative always into play for us.
Mm-mm. You know, I always feel like they bring in the controversy so they can get more and more people to see the movie and feel like, okay, I got to pick a side, I got to support it, and I got to see it, I'm all for success. I don't want to be labeled a hater or anything like that, but I just want us to always be careful. So, our measurement. And a good brother called me. Was like, "Yeah, they're gonna, get an Oscar." I was like, "Okay," but we know Michael has always been good, and we know he's been, vilified and demonized in the public. I just want to know if they're going to cover some new stuff. I don't know. I don't know if it's safe. I haven't seen it,
Well,
but mhm.
based on the stuff I researched, they're just actually covering the process of making a Thriller album and what
Oh, okay.
happened during that time frame in the 80s.
Mm.
It's not like if you're looking for salacious and you're looking for
Mm-hmm.
controversy, or if you're even looking for stuff that you don't already know if you lived during that time,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to see. I think the biopic is exactly what it was made for. Is for a next generation people who wondered about this great piece of music, the great album that was established by a great artist of a lifetime, for them to get a sneak peek of that process, how it all operated for him at the time. And
Right.
it worked with Quincy, his mom, and his dad and the brothers. And, that's
Mm.
that's really what this biopic is about. But if you're looking for something else, you're looking for salacious. You can just go on your Tubi or go on your Amazon or your
Yeah.
whatever other streaming networks they are, and then go and look Michael Jackson. Just put Michael Jackson in. You can see any kind of garbage about Michael Jackson you want to see. But I think this movie, and I
Mm-hmm.
think it is because I think Antoine made it clear that this wasn't about. He wasn't making a movie about that. He was making a movie about the greatness of Michael
Right. Right. And he's
Jackson.
talking
And
about
then when
Antoine Fuqua, who's the
right,
director, just in case
and
people.
then the idea of making a greatness a movie, you don't have time to be putting in negative because, well, you can go make your own negative. We're going to focus on all the positive. And I think him doing this is a roadmap for us as a people. What we need to start doing. We know the bad stuff that happened, whatever is going on in our community. But how about we just don't focus on it? How about we focus on the good parts, because what you present becomes isomorphic in the term
Mm.
that it goes down like a waterfall. So if it's good things, people begin to see it and operate and experience as good things. And I use this as a great example this weekend. I tried this when I was in New York City. Every person I seen, I greeted them with a hello and a smile. And you can imagine how many people responded to that. Almost every person I was
Mm.
sharing that, uh, with my partner that, hey, you see that man right there? He was looking miserable, and then I opened the door and said, "Hey, how you doing, man?" Like, with a happy smile. And he was like, "Oh, hey, man, how you doing?" And I think that this is what we should start focusing on. I mean, I think everybody spent the weekend, larger than the weekend, focusing on trying to continue the man and woman war of dating. I don't understand why, because again, this is again more manipulation. And then guess what? Why y'all worrying about that? Because we've got bigger issues in our community, in our society than that. Look, you got a man who was just brutally beaten up by the NYPD, mistaken identity in a bodega. But he about to get $100 million for sure from the city. So just know some of your taxpayer money, if you live in New York City, is about to go to this brother who was mistaken identity, and they beat the man to a bloody poke in on video in the
For the
store
world to
because they
see.
thought he was somebody else, and they was duking him up.
Yeah, and it's terrible because I mean, I think even if that was the guy they was looking for, it's just the excessive force is just it's ridiculous. It's been normalized too. We've been conditioned to almost accept that when we see that to be like, okay, well, and I've
He
even
must
seen
have
people
did
say,
something wrong.
yeah, he did. So yeah,
That's the
right.
thing.
He did
He must have
something.
did something wrong. Look, he black. He
Yeah,
must have did something wrong.
yeah.
He a man. He did something wrong. He
Mm, mm,
black. He
mm.
did something wrong. That's the way I see that. Nowadays, is if you black and you're a man, you got to figure out what they did wrong.
Mm, 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 mm,
Not if
mm.
they not guilty, if they didn't do it. Black man, oh, he did it. He did it. You don't even think about it. They
Mm,
justified in anything that's going on.
mm, mm,
Everybody
mm.
else, we need to wait and see what happened.
Right.
We need to, hey, you need to be careful. We need to evaluate. We don't want to rush the judgment. We don't want to post their pictures. We don't want to say their name until we know that they have been fully found to be guilty or involved in this crime. Meanwhile, this man was beat the picture put on the thing, said all this, and then come back to find out this wasn't even the guy you was looking for. He had nothing to even do with narcotics or anything else like that. But he will be becoming a $100 million heir, or somewhere close to that. I tell you, it's a crazy way to be getting reparations, but I think that for a lot of black people, that's the reparation groove that they've been on for quite a while. This just getting beat up by the authorities, and then your family can become millionaires, and you can
Yeah,
get
get a
millions of
check or
dollars.
something. That's what a lot of young people are saying when they're accosted by police. Oh, you want to make me rich? Because it's like understood that they're going to go overboard and it's going to be videotaped, and some people are going to be, looking to get a check of some kind. Oh man, it's crazy. Another thing, Ron, that's really bothersome. If you look at the reporting, and because I'm into media, I'm a filmmaker, and I watch all the things, even things that are like nuanced that might get away from other people. Whenever there's someone who has done something, and they have the complexion for the protection, and they interview the people in the community. The people act so shocked. Oh, he seems like such a nice guy. They have something so nice to say, like, really? I don't know. I'm shocked. That kind of thing doesn't happen. But now, when somebody's completely innocent and you interview the people, yeah, well, that guy, yeah, he used to do, it's like the way, and I know it's the way it's
You hit it
edited.
right on the head.
Hmm.
So even if you are innocent of
Right,
something,
right.
once someone did something unfavorable to you, or incorrect to you, they're going to find some miscellaneous. Oh, when he was 14, he
Right,
ran
right.
over a cat when he was riding down the street.
He
And
got
he hit his
suspended in
dog.
school.
He hit the dog with the newspaper when he was delivering the newspapers. And so he had a violent streak. He did this to a cat, did that to a dog. So we would have believed that he could have did this heinous crime or this or something like this because he already had the tendency to do so. But strangely, let me just say this: what I find interesting, kind of on another side, is that when we do have people in our community who are heinous and criminal like that, they don't focus on them too often. It's usually people who are regular citizens they focus on. They don't really talk about the brutal criminals they kind of sometimes it almost goes sweeping under the rug because I think is a psych out game. The psych out game is a criminal and you know it. And criminal white, black, Puerto Rican, Mexican, Asian, white, no matter what they are, you can see a criminal. But what you're trying to do is criminalize black people, so you want to make look like anybody black can be a criminal. And that's a wicked game, man. A wicked game to play on everyday citizens who have nothing to do with criminality. They just trying to live just like everybody else. Wicked game, brother. Wicked game.
Yes, yes, yes. Really, really wicked. Wicked times. Folks, when we come back, man, we're going to get together with our guests and we're going to have an important conversation. We got Sinmisola Kareem here, and we're going to be, having a little back and forth. And by the way, folks, if you have any questions and, comments and concerns, you can also put them in the chat as well if you're unable to join. I want to thank all the folks. We have close to 100 people checking us out on Facebook. There was this 26 folks over on Rumble. Folks, if you want to join us in here, we do encourage you to do so by going to GoProRadio.com. Click on that Join Live button, and it'll bring you right into the room. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to come back with our guests. Sinmisola Kareem is in the house, and we'll be right back, folks. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome to the Colored Only Café, where the conversation is always hot, black, and strong.
Oh, welcome back, welcome black. This is the Colored Only Cafe. I am one of the hosts, Highline Usabi Washington, joined by Dr. Osborne Williams, who's out of frame right now, but he's coming back. I want to get right into our meeting. I really enjoyed the brother when he was here last time. He has a lot of powerful and very interesting things to say, and I'm so glad that he's joined us again. I hope he joins us again and again and again, because it's always quite interesting, and we learn quite a bit whenever he has the opportunity to pop on our broadcast. And I'm talking about Sinmisola Kareem. He's in the house. How are you doing today, brother? And welcome to the Colored Only Cafe.
Thank you, brother Tylon, for the warm welcome. It's great to be here.
Yes. Thank you. So, what from the last time that you were here, can you just, for folks who don't know who you are and they're just checking you out for the first time, give folks a little bit of background of who you are and what you do.
Sure thing. So for those who may not know me, my name is Sinmisola Kareem. I am the program instructor of the up-and-coming, blossoming program on Yoruba language, the Yoruba language learning program. And I work with a network of Pan-Africanists and people who are of the African spiritual tradition to help further preserve our culture through language and to share the mission of the Yoruba language as a tool for wisdom, cultural reconnection, and ancestral inheritance.
Mm-hmm. And tell folks, because I know the answer to this, but I want you to, because you're so eloquent with this. Why is language so important and powerful? And that was one of the first things they stripped us of, by the way, folks. Our ability to communicate effectively with each other. And I know that when we talk about Africa, we talk about a lot of tribes. There's a lot of conversation. But when people strip you and you start to, we think. Right, Simi, we think in English letters and terms, and that is, I think, to a serious detriment as well. Can you tell us the power of language?
Most certainly. And to add to your point on the impact, the detrimental impact of taking away language when we came to the diaspora, it definitely closed up our borders, closed up the possibilities, closed up the idea of freedom and identity, of a deeper identity, different from what is established in this country, and an identity rooted in where we came from. And in taking away language, we were unable to connect and communicate with our fellow brethren Now think about in a case where a fresh brother came from the motherland and was nicely propped and plopped in, the state of Virginia. He'd be trying to make every attempt possible to speak the language with his brothers, to find his brothers, to know his brothers and sisters. But because of the rules and the laws and the restrictions in the land, it was banned. And as a result, there was no ability for coordination, for resistance, for showcasing our inherent humanity. Instead, we were drugged through and, in a sense, forced to learn the English language, but not even just to learn the English language, to learn it on a crutch, because it was forbidden that we read. For 200 plus years, it was forbidden that we as a people read. And so for that reason, we can see that there has been great extended attempts at limiting our access to knowledge and education. If you've probably heard of the book, The Miseducation of the Negro.
Of course.
Mm-hmm. We get to see attempts there of the systematic attempts at miseducating us, bringing about disinformation, bringing about trying to quote unquote muddy the waters of history. Mm-hmm. And of course, if you look into one of the beautiful things with language, though, is etymology. Language holds root meanings. Words carry ancestry. Words are inherited, and words can have progenitors. And in that aspect, when you look at the word history, as you've probably analyzed before, history is his story. Mm-hmm. It's always been his story. But how do we make it our story? How do we make it a collective story? That's something that language opens us up to, because language is the key and is the system and infrastructure in which the historians write their version. So by taking an honest path and a rigorous path towards ancestral reclamation through a path of language, we nullify such powers, we nullify such abilities, and we take back our own power. So hence, this language program and the power of language is simply an empowerment and breaking all spells and bonds.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, I want to get into a little bit about legacy and language, because I know, even with the early iteration of what I call the capitalist criminal cartel, set up this industry. It really was an industry, and people don't understand. It was very well organized. It wasn't about, let's say white people coming to the shows with clubs and nets like a scene out of the Planet of the Apes and grabbing up black folks. They organized with various kingdoms to have, let's say, people from different groups, and they wanted to make sure that people from different tribes were separated so that they could not communicate, so they could not talk, and they could not organize or plan a strategy to escape or whatever. And one of the ways that they do that we see the echoes of that today is to keep us confused with language, and us not being able to communicate. Where even there's a lot of misunderstandings that come out of, I think, the English language, because you have so many words that mean different things. Am I correct?
Yeah, language, and there are so many words that can carry different meanings in English, but also in Europe, and that again is what some of you may, especially familiar with political science, would consider the Hegelian dialect. Can anyone tell me, or does anyone know what the Hegelian dialect is?
No, educators. No, I know I don't. Mm-mm.
So the Hegelian dialect is the kind of speech used primarily by politicians and institutional figures or figureheads in which they quote unquote lead us on with the words. They create an atmosphere for a problem. They engineer a problem and they engineer a solution as a result. And the language they would use is to kind of guide us through that in order for them to gain control. So the problem is engineered, and in order to cause discordance, to disrupt the system, and a solution is preferred or offered. Usually a solution on the Hegelian's term, or on the politician or the group's term. And the masses are then to acquiesce to that solution, or they're like, oh, this person's come up with with a solution, great idea, let's go on board, not knowing that that person or that group may have caused the problem in the first place. And that is in order to hand over sovereignty, or to hand over our freedom and our permission. It's a process, and that process is curated through language, through specific words put together, placed together in the right manner, in a subtle manner, to kind of wash over us. We see it happen in day-to-day lives.
Yes.
In our politics, and in commercials and ads. When a pharmaceutical company is offering you some meds for a condition, and they list all those side effects, but they will say quick and rapidly. And that's kind of a form of Hegelian dialect, albeit one that is regulated in a sense. But it's a curation of words in a way to control people. And for the longest, and it still happens, in our legal systems, where words have power over us. We don't always, a lot of us are unconscious of that fact, but we're usually placed in a situation where if you go to the court, court of law, or the house of law, you will be, you cannot speak for yourself in most situations, and you have to have someone represent you, in a sense, being that person is considered quote unquote a dead man. We use that term dead man idiomatically in English to say someone who's in trouble, but in the book of law, it's metaphorically that the person is dead, but they're using a certain language that the attorneys have power and understand to help to negotiate on your behalf, on the state's behalf. So language, when we use language, everyone uses language on a day-to-day basis through different means. It's just, how do we pay attention to that? I don't know. I went on a spiel there.
No, it was good. I thought, and I like that you took the necessary time and care, because a lot of times, we'll have an elevated conversation and we'll lose people who, may be very well interested and want better clarification. So I didn't think you went off at all, and I have better understanding. And now, we learned. I know at least I've learned about what would you say, the Hegelian dialects, and
I recommend you guys to look it up in the background and let me know, because I could be wrong too. I don't like that, but we're all researchers here in critical theory, so please look it up.
Yes, and they're always using language and to trick us. I mean, right now there's a big issue with deed theft, going on, and so when you talk, especially and I'm glad that you brought up the fact that you had the conversation about the courts, because I think that's one of the main ways in which a lot of us are literally duped or tricked out of our rights, whatever they are, or privileges. It depends on how you look at it, right? Because once again, we're using their language to even explain this and express this, and so they're I believe intentionally inefficient, or intentionally left to certain levels of ambiguity, where somebody can come in and say, no, I meant this as opposed to that, and perhaps wiggle out of an obligation. And that's why I think that, just even based on that whatever treaties that were ever signed back then, especially any kind of agreements or any kind of legal document, when people, and this sounds insane, but when people were literally put to death for being able to read or write, you know, or people who taught people how to read or write, let alone speak.
Were punished. Yeah.
Yes, yes. You know, so it's you see and you hear the echoes of this, like I said, even today, and that's why I think your work is important. Let's talk a little bit more about the work that you do.
Absolutely. So the work I'm doing is in starting, I'm building a program, particularly in building and bridging the gap between the diaspora and Africa. And I believe that gap, there is a certain gap when we look at the spirituality, especially in the ecosystem of Yoruba spirituality. That is that in the diaspora is there's a willingness, and you can see, you probably know a couple of people who you've heard of who are trying to or are embracing the Yoruba path and Yoruba spirituality or Yoruba culture. And as someone who again is from Nigeria and from Yoruba land, it's something that I wanted to see happen more of, because I realized that people are met with a lot of language barriers and they might not know fully what it means, and it stops them from appreciating that. So we have the Yoruba language program. It's a 12-unit, 12-module program. It goes for a whole year, and it's designed to get us into the fundamentals and the building blocks and the systems that create the Yoruba, that allow us to speak Yoruba and to see the patterns of how a word shifts or how tone affects our language. Because Yoruba, again, is one of those unique languages that is altered by tonality. When I mean tonality, I mean do, re, mi. The three tones are used together to kind of create or add layers of meaning to a single word. And I can use an example word, oko or oko. The difference there, they're both OKO. But when we look and we start to look into the Yoruba alphabet, we have two types of O's. We have an O, gives us the O sound, O, giving us oko. And then we have O with a dot. That's an O sound, giving us oko. Oko being farm, means farm. That's oko. And then oko represents husband. And then when you start to add the layers of tonality on those two words, for example, oko, that then changes the meaning versus oko versus
Wow.
re versus re mi, oko. That means, part of my language, but that's a male penis. So oko is a male penis, and then you have oko. Oko could also be a hoe, like the hoe that is used to farm or to till the soil. And so when someone is then speaking, and people make that mistake a lot when learning the language, it's like they will start speaking like Mofe lo soko, Mofe lo si oko latiri oko mi. But they're trying to say, I want to go to the farm to meet my husband. But what they're saying is, I want to go to the penis to meet my farm. You see, and so people start laughing, but it's kind of one of those cool things about the subtlety of the language. It's a language that to the outside ear, it sounds very brash and it sounds very guttural and rhythmic, like it's just someone speaking like a drum. But when you start to pay attention to the system of the language, you see like, oh, there's a kind of subtlety in how people are speaking, and there's a sort of poetry that flows with the wordplay, because there's a lot of, we get into certain aspects of liturgy and the grammar that are used. Now, to a lot of people who may be listening, it's like, okay, it's cool. Learning Yoruba might be cool. It's like I get to connect with a different part of the culture. Some people might not consider it my culture, and so a lot of people might be wondering, why should I learn this language? And with that, I want to say, to open you into, or to help people open their eyes into African philosophy. We already kind of understand that, unfortunately and ironically, the transatlantic slave trade happened from most West African countries: Ghana, Cameroon, Congos, maybe the Angolas, and Nigeria, Togo probably. And so a lot of these places were also part or places that were Yoruba speaking. And so it's kind of, and also Yoruba is one of the most documented cultures in the West. If you look into scholarly articles, except Kemet in Egypt, you find Egypt is pretty well documented, but so is Yoruba. And it's a great way for people to connect to their spiritual understanding. Right now, a lot of people are walking without that spiritual understanding or what spirituality meant in Africa. And I believe that by studying the Yoruba language, you gain access to a myriad of different spiritual cultures on a deeper level. You get access to the Orishas, who are considered the nature divinities, and you gain an access and ability to confidently speak and communicate with such forces. You gain access to what we consider the Ifa divination system, which is the oracular system that is known in Yoruba land, but also widely practiced in the diaspora. And so people from these backgrounds have a means to execute and honor their prayers, to honor their ancestors, to understand the history. He's just resting here. I got a dog here if you can't see. Her name is Lexi.
Yeah, I see her. She gets up every now and then and say and listening to what you're saying.
Yeah, dogs know facts, you know. So it's for that purpose as well. There's that layer of, again, spiritual reclamation. There's so many, even in my personal experiences, there's so many spiritual concepts that were unfolding in a way that helped me to understand the importance of what we call iwa pele, which is gentle character, but more so gentle nature, being that iwa could refer to character or nature. And so there are certain things that might be said. For example, in a verse that might say something like Ibinu odan konre funi suru ni baba iwa agba to ni suru ohun gbogbo lo ni. Sounds very alien and foreign when I say that, but let's take a step back and break this down. What it's saying, ibinu, and that is itself, that is a word for anger. Anger. It's saying ibinu odan konfuni. Anger is not good for one. But let's focus on that word anger. Ibinu, it has its own etymological root. Ibi, inu. So the act of harboring something internally, the act of holding evil. Ibi is the word for evil in Yoruba word. So ibinu, it's like holding evil within, which is the act of anger in a certain sense. But it's also kind of the act of something I'm giving birth to inside of me. It's an energy. So it refers to the energy and the state of the emotion of anger. And so it's then saying ibinu odan konfuni. Anger is not good for one. Suru ni baba iwa. Patience is the father of character. Patience is the father of nature. Agba toni suru omboboluni. The elder who possesses patience is the one who inherits all in life. And it's kind of like an adage where we could say slow and steady wins the race. That's how some people in English might understand it. But in there, it's going through certain layers of showing us the comparison on the nature of anger and its relation to patience. And it goes on, the verse goes on to give a story and calls into different characters. But even in just knowing that certain line, it gives us an understanding and relation between nature of anger and how anger can disrupt one's life, but it also emphasizes the importance of patience in our efforts in growing and in solving the problems that we encounter in life.
Yeah, because I stay angry. I don't. But we're gonna come right back. We got to take a quick break. But while we're taking a break, I want to really get into because you describe yourself as a systems-oriented developer, right? You work with all these different technology companies, and I want to ask you
That's right.
when we come back, how has thinking in systems sort of shaped the way you understand people, power, and society beyond technology? So we're going to talk a little bit more when we come back. Don't go anywhere, folks. Oh man, this is a very interesting and powerful conversation. Please use this opportunity to invite a friend or two, because we're really about spreading this word and spreading the information, spreading the knowledge, because we live in a knowledge-based society. What you know means a lot, and not only that, it can actually change the trajectory of your life. And we all know that when you know better, you do better. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the Colored Only Café, where the conversation is always hot, black, and strong.
There is some real truth to the added time goes by fast when you're having a good time. Folks, we are already at the halfway mark, of this program. We have an incredible guest who has come back to our program, and I hope he comes back again and again. He really has a lot of very interesting things to say, and also to inform and educate us on and about. And so, I'm really glad and grateful that he's able to be here with us and share, his experience, and then all the really wonderful things that he's doing, not only with language, but with technology, folks. Yeah. There's another part, there's another dimension to Sinmisola Kareem. And before we went to break, I was asked him a question about, he's a system-oriented developer. He's developed a lot of different systems, and I wanted to know how has, thinking in this systems, way mindset, how's that shaped the way he understands people, he understands power, and society beyond that technology.
Thank you again, Brother Tylon. And I want to say that we look at our systems thinking or thinking in systems, and we're like, oh, this is some like really fancy technological term or advanced concept. But do you really want to know what systems thinking is?
Yeah, tell us.
Intuition. It's your intuition.
I never thought of it like that. Go ahead.
Systems thinking is seeing the tree, but also seeing the forest as and the tree. Seeing the forest that represents the trees. It's about taking a step back and looking at the full picture, but also taking a step back and looking at the connected nodes, rather than looking at the singular node itself and thinking that that's the story. It's about looking at the nodes and its relation to its other nodes and other points on a network. It talks about how these interactions shape and paint a story. That is the idea of systems thinking. How do our interactions on different levels, paint a story? I can take you towards the lens and take you away from language and take you away from code. And let's go to music. How do the interactions of every recurring beat paint a story? How do the interactions of a single chord relating to a beat or rhythm paint a story, right? Changing the tone or changing the tempo of a song makes it fast paced, and that in turn shifts our energy where we feel like we're a lot faster, right? Or changing the notes and change the chords can evoke a certain type of emotion. It can evoke an emotion of melancholy. It can evoke emotion of joy. It can evoke emotion of anger or adrenaline. But if you look at a music, and if you've ever been a music producer, and that's something I also do, but FYI, I like to make music.
Oh, we got that in common too. Okay.
Heck yeah. So if you ever made music, or you're working with, you have multiple parts that work together to create a picture or paint a picture, aka an orchestra. An orchestra orchestrates. The word orchestration is meaning to coordinate, to guide, to fulfill a purpose. And so systems thinking is about what parts do we play, or what parts do each individual nodes play in the grand narrative? And how do we understand its role? What is its relation? How does it integrate with other nodes? How does it work with other nodes to create an emergent pattern? How does it disintegrate? How does it I guess how does it translate? So it's kind of like a framework for looking at the how systems thinking has helped me was to be able to be in touch with my intuition, but also to add critical thinking to my intuition. A great start, if you're looking to learn more about systems thinking, is to read the book on Donella Meadows, a systems thinking primer. She's an authority on this topic, but there are many other authorities, spoken and unspoken, of systems thinking. Another aspect is in for me that I realized and I could use systems thinking to understand people was in martial arts, in capoeira. It's another kind of system. Um, and that's more in the physical and the dance space. Because what makes it a system, it's the different people who make it a system, the different musical instruments that are used to play the game, the fact that it's all in a circle, you know, a circle being one of the biggest systems. Um, and systems, when you think in systems, thinking in systems helps you to see patterns in other systems. So if you can understand how a system operates or what a system is, you can use that same understanding and translate it to your finances, to your relationships, to your technology,
To your business, to your
to your
music.
business, to your music. Exactly. So it's kind of the language set, I would even say, the language set used to describe our interactions with the world and interactions with other people.
Wow. Well, let's go a little bit deeper on that, since, like, in your experience, right? Because I want to talk a little bit about technology and equity. How can systems or system design either reinforce inequality or perhaps in the way that you're working with it, actively dismantle it within a organization and within our community?
So you're asking how can systems be used to?
Yeah, because we live in a system. People say, I know you've heard this a lot, an oppressive system, white supremacist
System's
system.
not
You
fair.
see the system's unfair, right? The system's imbalanced. So, like, in your experience, how can system designs either reinforce inequality or actively dismantle it within these structures that we were kind of like born into?
That's a deep question.
Yeah,
I'll
that's what I
try
said. Let's
to
get deep.
I'll try to tackle it first from how do the systems we live in reinforce the oppression? Um, in our global system or in the Western system, you can consider it the economic system, the real estate system, the financial banks as a system, the insurance as a system, the billing companies or the energy companies as a system. They all work in tandem. They're all different systems, but they work in tandem to create and share this narrative and to create this narrative that we have no control, right?
Right.
It's designed in a way, and how does it speak this language, or how does it tell this story that we're not in control? It tells a story that we're not in control by um, making the law a double standard. For example, that's when we look at the system as a law or the law system in this country, we see where people get punished irregularly for doing the right thing, and other people punished for other people praised for doing the wrong thing. We see that currently happening in the state of California with people who are living within the legal framework being penalized, while those who may be in a homeless situation or who are living outside on the street have a lot more leeway, and hence, what does that reinforce? It reinforces that, okay, if I'm not being punished for breaking into this store because I'm homeless and all this stuff, I just got to keep doing that. I can remain homeless, and I'm just gonna continue doing my coming up with my guys, and we're gonna break into stores, and we're gonna make money from it. The law's not gonna stop us. They're gonna stop the people who are trying to abide by the law. And what does that enforce and incentivize to the law-abiding people? Oh my gosh, these people just keep breaking into my banks and into my stores, and they steal all this stuff. I tell the police, I try to act in a rational manner, but they don't respond to me, or they support them instead. That incentivizes the law-abiding people to start taking the law into their own hands. You see? And so that is in a state where it's the system there in California is incentivizing lawlessness. That's one example. We can look into examples of how the system price gouges when we go into a supermarket. When you go into a supermarket, you look at prices. The price that came out for the customer in front of you may be different from the price that came out for you, but you got the exact same thing. Why is that? Because the digital systems in place have a way of profiling you and monitoring you to where they're like, oh, I can just charge this person a little bit more because they're black. Or, oh, I can charge this person a little bit more because they live in this neighborhood. Cool. Let me do that because it benefits me. But what it's doing is it's filling the pockets of a certain person, and it's emptying your pockets. That's a relation of like, this system is having this effect on this group, and this system is having this effect on this other group. And as a result, you start to see the interplays a lot more of effects. And you don't see something happening in silo. What systems thinking will help you to do is to see that one thing happening across the world can affect you, aka the butterfly effect. It helps you to really internalize that something happening on the other side of the world, aka the Strait of Hormuz blockage and the oil supply blockage, can affect you living in America who has to go and buy gas at the gas petrol station. That's what systems thinking helps you to do, is to understand that line and chain of events happening. When you practice systems thinking more, it helps you to also organize your mind and to organize your intuition into being able to utilize your intuition in a critical manner, and to not undermine it. Did I make myself clear, Brother Tyler?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And once again, I absolutely appreciate that the fact that you really do take the time and the care. You must give some powerful lectures. If this is an example of what the classes are like, I know people are properly edified. And what I like, you keep it plain. And then on top of it, you don't try to talk, above people and use a lot of highfalutin words. You use words that I think the majority of the people will understand and that they can relate to. And I think it's so helpful, when you have people, that way who are, more interested in reaching people than to, try to sound, hoity-toity, what we would say, or superficial and this case. So I absolutely love these kinds of conversations because I know it's going to resonate with more people as well. In terms of a system, I have a network. I want more people to listen. I don't want people to tune in and get turned off, because they feel like they're talking to some professor. And okay, I don't want to hear this. You have a very good pace, and you make things very plain. You make things very clear, and that is super helpful. Let me get into my next question with you, if you don't mind, because
Go ahead.
I really like this because I want to talk about leadership, because I saw your resume and I was like, blown up, man, this guy worked for Blackwater. He's coming up with these technical systems. He's doing so much. I'm like, first of all, how did he do all of this stuff? And he looks like he's 25. But I want to talk about, in your experience, as someone who has led both engineering and community initiatives, what does effective leadership look like? Especially when we talk about like the people are fascinated and transfixed on the president and his personality and what he's doing. We mentioned the they call it a war, but I call it what it is. It's an invasion. It's theft of resources. But in this world like driven by code, data, and automation, and this was like I said, both your field that you're not only in engineering, but also in community uplifting, community initiatives. Describe from your perspective what effective leadership looks like.
Thank you, Brother Tylon. So the first thing that comes to mind for me when I think about effective leadership is this quote, and it also reminds me of Game of Thrones too. But it's heavy is the head that wears the crown. Mm-hmm. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. Effective leadership entails ultimate accountability. Ultimate accountability to yourself and to your stakeholders and to your community. And it's about,
but
to become a good leader, you'd have to start off with being responsible for every single decision you make and every single action you make, thinking about how it affects others, thinking about what its effects and costs are to you, and kind of being the pioneer. An effective leader is also somebody who leads by example. Again, if one is to take accountability for their own decisions and choices, one is going to make the best choices, but also the most reasonable and most considerate choices for their group, because they're taking responsibility for everyone's needs. They're taking responsibility for everyone's demands. They're taking responsibility for everyone's worries and concerns. It wasn't up to them initially, maybe. This is how good leaders are. They're usually not appointed that role, but they feel it internally as, this is something that I need to do because I feel like I'm responsible. I feel like part of my existence is to make sure that this thing is seen through. That is the kind of leader that people need, because when they see that person is taking full accountability, other people learn to take accountability. And when we have a society of people who take accountability for their actions and thoughts, we're all leaders. And we all kind of learn how to lead effectively. Well, not just to become leaders, but to lead effectively.
Right. But I hear that word a lot, right? Accountability. But I think accountability looks different depending on who you are. There's some people who do say it and they do mean it and they take accountability. But you see, especially a lot of the politicians, and once again, maybe this dovetails into the conversation about language, right? Because people say things accountability. They want people to feel comfortable and feel like, oh, he's going to do something. But I think, it's one of those words that means something, but then don't really mean too much depending on who you are. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, because I see people, it seems that they just keep on going left and more left. They just keep doing the same thing, and it's no accountability. The what do you call it? All of these so-called layers that's supposed to hold certain people in account. They're out to lunch, or they're not holding people accountable. When what you said resonated with me, because really it should be the individual that hold themselves accountable. Like saying, "Hey, I have a duty," to all these other people. For example, with politicians, even if they vote for me or not, they're still my constituents, so they're still human beings like that. You don't see that today, but we hear the word accountability. So I think accountability is one of those flex words that means different things depending on who you are. Some people, they. Like I said, accountability means nothing. Oh, it's just it's a bumper sticker. They want to say it.
Well, accountability, again, when we focus on etymology, means on whose account. Who has the ability to account for this situation? That is the word for accountability. And what is accounting? Simply taking, the numbers and ensuring that everything is lodged and sums up neatly. That the system is coherent. So in a lot of those situations, we might have certain people who are taking accountability or taking leadership, but it might be an opposing leadership to, another group's leadership, because again, who are they taking accountability for? Right. Who are you taking accountability? Are you taking accountability for yourself? Are you taking accountability for this particular group? Are you taking accountability for the nation?
Right, right.
Do you have the ability to take account for the nation?
Right, right. And I see a lot of people, especially fathers, and black fathers, they get a black eye. They take so much accountability. And they even take on, I think, more than what is really theirs to bear in a lot of instances, especially when they take on other families, they take on other people. And, you know, it doesn't hit the press like other people. But when I think about accountability in terms of the way that I see it, on a day-to-day basis, I see a lot of, you know, fathers doing the things and not even wanting praise. A lot of fathers I talk to, they say, well, hey, I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do. And I'm like, wow, yeah, but you're taking care of this family, you're taking care of that family, you're taking care of grandma, auntie. You know, they're doing some incredible things. And, of course, the camera's not going to be around because they don't want to promote
My brother, the revolution will not be televised.
You're right about that.
The revolution will not be televised.
You are right about that.
Revolutionary acts do not require televising.
Exactly. But you know, my point, just you know, with accountability and the things that I see people do, and I'm just really, you know, I'm always in awe. I don't think I'll ever be, you know, not impressed with that, because I think that those are the things that we get impressed by the wrong things, celebrity and all this other kind of stuff, as opposed to being impressed by the things that happen on a day-to-day basis that are just wonderful and really transforms lives. And speaking of which, like, you know, people don't know this about you. I mean, you're really ahead of it. I mean, you've built automated systems and compliance and security tools, right? We have a heavy weight here, guys. We're not just talking to, you know, say he's unassuming, and I like that about him because he's grounded and, you know, he's very rooted. But where do you professionally draw the line between, I guess, efficiency and ethical responsibility? You know, being in the compliance and the security, you know, field.
Efficiency and responsibility.
Yes.
Could you elaborate further? I'm
Yeah.
also kind of
Okay. So, like, you know, because I was looking at your resume and I was like, man, this guy does it. You know, he's done light work with Blackwater. He's, you know, you've literally built from scratch automated systems in security and with compliance. And I was wondering, where do you, as Simi Kareem, where do you personally draw the line between, let's say, the system working efficiently, you know, for a particular, you know, agency that you've worked for, and then also where there may be some lines between, you know, your own ethics or just ethical responsibility in general?
Oh, okay. Where I draw the line is really if I have questions and those questions don't get answered.
Mm-hmm.
If, like, we're working on something that is supposed to be, you know, build efficiency and modeling, and I as a developer, I want to know, like, okay, we're talking about all this tech stuff, cool. How does it affect people in, you know, day-to-day lives?
Right.
And how is it going to affect us, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And if they can't really give an answer to that, or not really give a clear cut or honest answer, it's like, okay, well, this is definitely being used for ulterior motives and they're not really telling us.
Mm-hmm.
And in that case, you're kind of obliged under a contract to fulfill your means and fulfill your job. And yeah, I believe if in that sense, it's like about your own moral compass and how you feel about, I've made an obligation, I've made my remarks. How do I either feel about, how do I continue and work within the reasonable means, and how do I let them know and establish that, hey, I don't know if I can implement this, or I'd have to step out of this part of the projects. And really, it's also about building courage and courage to speak your truth at the end of the day, because in such situations, it requires, again, profound honesty or radical honesty with oneself, is that if I do this thing,
Like that.
how am I going to hate myself afterwards for doing this? Am I gonna have sleepless nights? Am I gonna be able to live with myself?
Right.
That's the question we all have to ask. We have to have those moments of radical honesty,
I love that
especially if
word.
it feels we're going to betray.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to betray our sense of who we are, which encompasses accountability.
Yes, yes, yes. And our humanity. Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk a little bit about the mentoring you done because I know time is being ate up. We almost dagged to the last 50 minutes because you do so much, and I know you've mentored especially young technologists according to the information I got. What is the most important lesson that you believe must be passed down to the next generation of Black engineers and innovators?
That we've known this before, and that what we're really doing is remembering. Most of the things we're not learning, we're remembering. And that's how it's been feeling, especially as a developer. In my tech side, I really much started off, in white spaces, especially since college. I went to the University of Michigan. I was around white folks in college, Indians, Asians, So the demographic wasn't always super supportive of Black folks, but when I did see Black folks, oh boy, did that make me smile. That made me real happy to see Black folks in computer science and in tech. And that's something that had made me a lot more comfortable with the path I was taking in African spirituality, was understanding that our people had come up with computers years and decades and long before Western computers. We came up with a computer of consciousness, of awareness. We don't see that. We're not educated on that, but that's what Ifa is. Ifa is a binary system. It's a system of ones and zeros, creating 256 probabilities and permutations of the human existence. And that gave me, when using that and systems thinking and drawing an analogy, but also just talking with these tools nowadays, like artificial intelligence, on the bridge between modern technology and ancient spirituality. There's that saying, there's nothing new under the sun. This is basically it. And that's what I want our new generation to know. There's nothing new under the sun.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Powerful stuff, folks. Oh man, I love this conversation. I don't know if you know this, and I love speculative fiction. I'm a filmmaker, and I'm diving deep into a lot of what you're talking about, and actually going to be developing some content in and around these very important questions that I've asked you tonight. But if you could, let's say, tell me a little bit about the future of system designs. And let's say, like, and if you could redesign, if you will, how organizations think at a structural level, from governments to tech companies, what is the first system you would rebuild?
That's a deep question again.
No, that's why I'm glad you're on. We can have this kind of reflective.
That if we were to redesign the system,
yeah, because you've developed systems and rebuilt, tweak, and so I'm saying, if you could redesign, let's say, how organizations think on a structural level in a Western society, Western culture, from governments to even tech companies, any way you want to take it, what is the first system you would rebuild, and then maybe even go into why you would rebuild it.
Oh wow. Man, that's a tough one.
I thought it would be race. I think the system of race, I think racism is the language in which classism speaks, right? It's one of those kind of things that it's integrated and has infected, and I think to the detriment of all of humanity, when people who can possibly provide and have answers and help with the flow and the development and growth, and you have contaminated in the system this idea that just based on the complexion, somebody may have inferior or superior input into a system.
Now I got my answer. Education. I mean, education has to be but is usually the route in which the most effective change always happens.
Mm.
Quality education. And when I think about education, I'm thinking about um, how re-educating people towards, okay, thank you. Re-educating people towards family-oriented systems, or re-educating people from roots up movements versus top-down movements. Because as we say, we have the saying, charity starts at home. Most of our life and fundamental parts of our lives start at from the family. So we need to have more education around family, family units, and build on top of that.
Yeah.
As has been done in history. If you look at it, most of the most powerful empires that have come to rule the world and are ruling the world always started from family. When people solidify and consolidate and have thoroughly examined what it means to be a family, have a good night. I feel like a lot of our problems will be solved, because even that is a problem that is happening and tackling African Americans in diaspora. It's family. Currently, splitting of families makes it harder to build generational wealth. But that's been incentivized. Our culture is actively incentivizing the disintegration of family through gender wars. So it's about paying attention to those things and re-educating people on family values. As much as we have this war going on, we do need to realize that family is the means that which humanity has always grown into empire.
Well, on that note, we got to take another quick commercial break, and when we come back, I want to follow up on that, because I want to dig in that a little bit more, especially with respect to how our families have been under attack for hundreds of years in this country, and I absolutely agree with you that family is crucial. All right.
Welcome to the Colored Only Café, where the conversation is always hot, black, and strong.
Oh, yes, the conversation is very, very hot tonight, and I'm so pleased to have this very, very special guest here tonight. Your time is moving by fast, and I really want this brother to share some of what he's been working on with our audience and people who are checking us out. Man, we got over 100 folks checking us out on Facebook. Please, folks who are liking the content, I definitely love the likes. Thank you so much. Please also share it. That's the only way we can cheat the algorithm. People don't know that, when we populate Facebook and all that, only a small percentage of our friends and our base are alerted when we go on and we promote or even put up a post. And some people say, yeah, I put up a post. You didn't see it? No, because they don't really share it with all of your friends. You have to pay for that. So in order for us to kind of bypass that, we really rely on you not only liking our content, but sharing it, because that only ensures that we're spreading and without people paying. But anyway, I don't want to take up any more time. I wish really, like, I don't know if you can come by once a month, because I love these conversations, because it really gets us to think deeper about our situation. Because I think, as we left, we were talking about family. And I was talking about how, we are constantly under attack. And I don't think it's done like because of hate. Yes, for a lot of people, they do hate black people. There's people who hate people. But I think it's something that people know. There's something that clearly that people understand that is unique about this. And I think when we get into that, it's about getting and uncovering information. And so now, Simi, can you please, if you can, I'm going to allow you right now. You should be able to share your screen with us and talk a little bit more about, not only what you're working on now, but what's very important and crucial. Tell people how they can get in contact with you.
With pleasure, and thank you, Brother Tylon. So I've been working on kind of programs and certain things that could help people with learning the language and learning Yoruba language and finding new and interesting ways of practicing that. A tool that I've created that has been helping me and a lot of my students in my classes to get into these deep conversations and to get into these moments of reflection is the IFA scribe. I will see if I can share my screen and we can get this rolling.
Yeah, and also put it in the chat so people know EFI and how to spell it. And
yeah, absolutely. So if you want to go to the site, you would type ifa-scribe.com, and I'll put it in the chat right now. ifa-scribe.com. ifascribe.com. This is a digital toolkit platform for helping you to understand, the Yoruba culture and to grow in your learning. So let me navigate to the site myself.
Cool.
All right, let me try this share screen.
Yes, you should be able to do it now. It's it's active.
Cool.
And okay, oh yeah, I can see it.
Can you see the screen? Yeah. So I'm currently running it from my phone, but the IFA scribe is a feature for preserving the voice of wisdom and allows people who are, practicing Yoruba to upload text, audio, and have our AI accurately transcribe with tones, which we call AMMI, and identifies verse structures for study. We have three cool features: audio to text, which is to help people with transcription of these sacred verses when they hear them, because that is something that I identified as a problem in the community for people who want to practice spirituality but want to go a step further of actually learning the chants and learning how to recite these things, because these things also help to change the energy composition of people. This is the tool that has been reported to help with that. We also have the Orator tool, which is great for having and learning to speak the language. You can have it write up Yoruba text and generate the speech, or English text and have it translate to Yoruba with tonal pronunciation. So, for example, hello, I am happy. And again, fingers crossed, it's not going to break. The code is still in works, so I'm just hoping that my application won't embarrass me on this call, but I'm going to take the risk.
First of all, it looks very clean. It looks very simple, and it looks, like I said, I like things. It looks very efficiently done. It's not like a whole lot of things weighing it down or making it look clunky. Or
Sure.
yeah, hello, I'm happy to be on your show. Let's make it meaningful.
That's right. So I'm going to try and see if I can generate the speech on this. Okay, cool. So we can see that this is in the input language is English. It says, hello, I'm happy to be on your show. Let's make this meaningful. And it helps with translating to Yoruba. Ẹ kú dé, inú mi dùn láti wà lórí ètò yín. Jẹ́ ká jẹ́ kí èyí wúlò. Now, I would try to see if I can play the actual transcript. Let me know if you can hear it or not.
Yeah, press play.
Ẹ kú iṣẹ́. Inú mi dùn láti wà lórí ètò yín. Jẹ́ kí a mú un wúlò.
Do you guys hear that?
Yes. I like her voice.
And so you're also able to select different
Sounds like
voices.
a song.
Yeah, it is like a song. And that's what I'm telling you. The Yoruba is singing. We see the effect of singing and I brought up in my last interview that Yoruba really is kind of the science of cymatics, as well as language, because cymatics is the use of voice and sound to shape matter, to shape reality. And it's the use of song in a singing in a communicative form to shape our reality. We talk about mantras, or if you go to a football game and everyone's chanting "Go Blue, Go Blue, Hail to the victors, Hail to." I'm hailing from University of Michigan, by the way. So if you're a Buckeye guy, I'm sorry, but that kind of idea of like something that boosts your spirits. So this is one of my cool features. I would like to showcase the IFA scribe, but let's move on to the next feature, the companion. This is one of my revolutionary features for helping people study, and one of my favorites. It's a AI study partner. So I have a lot of students in the class, and I usually bring this up when particular students have questions or deep things that I might not know or might want further understanding on. And I also use it in my personal time for asking, the deep philosophical or stupid questions. So let's take a look at this. To use this feature, you can either talk to it via the text button and ask it questions. In this case, I'll be like, "Hello there. I'm on Go Pro Radio." Again, bear with me if it doesn't work. But I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that it works. So it's thinking, it's trying to get a message to go on. Might take a little bit of a second. So it's like, yeah, it greets me back. Abura Boye Aboshishe. I hear you clearly. Whether you go pro radio on any means, my perception is attuned. But even better, you can actually talk to it and have a live conversation. And to showcase this, I'm going to set the voice again. I'm going to use Shadar, this is measured, and I'm going to start up the microphone. Let's see if it'll pick up. Okay, it's establishing a link. It might not, since we're currently on the live. I'm not sure how the phone might take that, but I'm hoping that I can show that case.
It's saying tap button to start live interactions. This is great.
Yeah. So
it's like it is AI, but it's like a AI companion that is in
that's been tuned for the purpose of learning the Yoruba language.
Love it.
Because of the nature of its complexity too. It's pretty cool too. So it seems in our session it might take a little bit longer for the companion to work. I'll give it one more shot. If it doesn't work, then I would encourage you to try it out outside of this call. So we'll see how that goes. Okay.
Now, while you're doing that, is there a way that when you sign up, do you have a trial period with this, and what's the cost?
Yeah, so there's a trial period. You can use it and start using it free, and you can upgrade to the different tiers as needed. So let me go over to the settings to showcase the different tiers. Another cool thing you can do is you can add your accounts. You can add your Google Drive or connect it.
Oh, okay.
You can choose your model and the level of precision you want in your activities. If you want it to be precise, balanced, or creative. There's a feature for contextual enrichment. In the case where you're learning verses and learning the language and you want cross-references or esoteric insights, it can provide that.
Wow. So
the 3 or 4 stages we have the free plan. It goes at 15 minutes a month transcription, 5,000 characters per month with a text-to-speech, and basic access. Then we go off to the basic plan, which is about a 60-minute per month transcription ability and 50,000 characters per month transcription for text-to-speech, which is the orator feature. And it also includes the Word PDF export feature. So if you want to save these to your documents or to your accounts, you can do that. And then we have the standard plan, which goes at 200 minutes per month, 200 characters, and it also includes the companion as well as priority support whenever you run into problems or bugs. And then we have the premium account, which goes at 500 minutes per month transcription, unlimited text-to-speech, and curriculum-aware companion, as well as live voice sessions included, and priority support.
Wow. Now, do you offer a discount if somebody want to buy for a year? Is there like, is there incentive to, so let's say if I want to subscribe for a whole year at the high plan, is there, sometimes they
Ooh,
offer that. Do they offer like, okay, you're gonna commit to us for a year, we'll give you a 10% discount or something like that?
that is, I haven't gone that far yet as to
Okay.
charge people for the whole year yet, but
Hmm.
it's a good plan of definitely something to put in the backlogs of providing a discount. Uh,
Hmm.
man, you give me some ideas here, brother Tylon. Definitely let me know.
Look, sometimes when I subscribe, I don't want to be bothered every month and
With
something gets taken out.
notifications.
Yeah, I say, well, I like this, I'm committed to it, and I want to invest a little bit in it, and I get a whole year. I do that with like editing software or other upgrades and stuff like that. I just try to get it for
Tell
the
you what,
year.
brother.
Hmm.
The next time we have another interview, I'll be
Hmm.
ready.
Okay, okay. No, but this looks absolutely gorgeous. This looks absolutely very efficient. Like I said, it doesn't look. A lot of new things are very cumbersome and even inefficient. And when you have it out there, you can tell people are still working out bugs and things like that. No, but this is very clear. It's cut and dry. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, it's not heavy, and it's not something that you feel like you got to go to school to learn how to operate and function. I love it. It's easy. It seems very intuitive as well. Excellent, brother, man. I really love this, man. I like it. I like it a lot.
Man, you're
You
making
know.
me smile so much. Thank you.
No, no, no. Really, I think a lot of people are going to support folks. These are the kind of innovators that I love to have on our program, and I love to share and introduce this to our audience so that they know that when they tune into the Colored Only Cafe on the GoPro Radio Network, that they're not only going to be edified, but you're going to get a nexus to the next big thing. So you get a chance to check it out and hear about it first on the GoPro Radio Network. Simi, before we get out of here, because I know we only have 10 minutes left, please, once again, tell people where they can reach you. If you have an Instagram handle, let people know where they can connect and where they can buy this incredible product or subscribe to
Absolutely.
it. Hmm.
If you want to get in touch with me, if you want to talk and go deeper into the nature of language or systems or into philosophy, or you want to get more information about language, you can reach out to me at my number 734-486-2796. I'm going to share that in the chat as well. You can
Beautiful.
also check out my website, my other website for the Yoruba language program, to find out more about what we're doing, our mission, our associates and affiliates, and our upcoming classes and class schedules. I would be amazed and I would be delighted to see if anyone here shows up, and I
Beautiful.
welcome you with warm arms.
Beautiful.
So here's the link to check it out and check out our different courses. Hit
Hmm.
me up if you have an interest in one or you know someone who would be interested in one. And please, let's continue to put and make this a mission, a revolutionary mission. We can
Absolutely.
definitely change the shape and the our perception and our consciousness as a result of this movement.
Well, thanks for all that you are, and thanks for all that you do and what you continue to do. It's incredibly powerful and meaningful. And like I said, I love to bring positive news to our people, and let them know, because a lot of people do know, but a lot of people don't see. And I think when people see it, it becomes possible for others. So,
Oh yeah,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I almost forgot to share a little update too. So we got some events coming up for the program, partnering with the Ancestral Egbe or Pan African Ancestral Egbe group and temple, but also partnering with um, a notable figure in the Yoruba spiritual community and Ifa community, Chief Araba Awodiran Agbola, who's currently doing a trip around the United States. He was in New York, visiting some groups down there. Um, Currently, he's in Miami,
mm-hmm.
and he's kind of exploring Miami a little bit. And he's going to be in Chicago on the 17th to the 24th, where we will be talking and we'll be having a 3-day event. Oh, thank you, brother, for sharing the flyer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we'll be having a 3-day event um, to celebrate and bring and raise more awareness, particularly in the city of Chicago. So if you're from the Chi-Town, from the Windy City, show us some love. Bring your friends, come out and have a good time with us. We'll have the first day of lectures. The second day would be particularly for workshops, or if you want to book a consultation with the Araba, it's a great time to touch in, and that would be your moment to get into the African spirituality. You can do so from out of state too. If you're not in Chicago, you can hit him up and you can book that session or time slot. Contact me for more details too.
Yes. Now, for a fee, can people, let's say, like, me, like, can I like join a Zoom and just pay a little fee or whatever
For
to
sure,
kind of be
we'll
engaged in
definitely
that way?
get that organized. To have a Zoom coming up as well for folks who want to join on the lecture day to hear some amazing talks by a transcendent and amazing figure of wisdom in the community and a global ambassador of Ifa.
Right. Yeah, so folks, as you can see on the flyer, donations are welcome. Spaces are limited, so you have to reserve your spot immediately. I know a lot of times when we see these things on the calendar, you say to yourself, it's the 18th or 20th, I have time, or it's elections the 17th, what's today? It's the 30th, I got some time. You don't want to sleep on this because this is going to be filling up really, really quickly. And it's a 4-day event. It starts really Sunday, May 17th. As you can see, from 12 to 6 p.m. There's also private consultations for 3 full days, Monday the 18th through Wednesday the 20th. And then there's going to be an incredible closing festival, Thursday the 21st. And that's for 6 hours, 3 to 9 p.m. There's going to be community celebrations, and it's all, like I said, out in Chicago. Hopefully that there'll be an event, or some of this can be broadcast via Zoom. That would be great. Or maybe, on a Wednesday, you can give us a call on the phone and you can give us a little sneak peek, because I think it happens during the time that we have our program here. That would be really great for us to kind of be a little fly on the wall and check in with you, if you will, and if you're able to do that, or if that's even allowed. I would love to share that with our audience and our people so that we can grow this movement. Folks, I want to thank you all once again for being here, for an outstanding, man, we had a really deep, the conversation was really, I thought really incredibly edifying, for most of the folks too. I don't think we were, talking too much over people. You know what I'm saying? Plus, we have a really intelligent audience, so I think everybody was able to really appreciate the conversation. So, folks, I want to remind you, tomorrow on Lydia's Lyrical Lounge, we have saxophonist. She plays the clarinet. She just does her name is Lee Odom. You can just look her up. She's great. She's a phenomenal artist, and she's going to be live and in the house on Lydia's Lyrical Lounge at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You want to definitely come in. You want to talk to her. We're going to be listening to some of her music, and I just want you to be, a part of that unique experience. Like tonight, folks, we sat literally at the intersection of code and consciousness, where systems are not just built, they are lived. And what we've been reminded of in this conversation that we had today is that behind every framework, every line of logic, every automated process, there is a human intention trying to organize chaos into meaning. And I think Sinmisola Kareem, he really challenges us to see architecture where we once only saw application, to understand the power of language, to understand that security is not just protecting of data, but protection of trust, and that compliance, when reimagined, can become less about restrictions and more about integrity being made visible. But I think part of the deeper conversation that we had that was very revealing tonight is that systems are natural and that they're rooted in who we are. It's in our DNA, and they reflect the minds that design them, the values that sustain them, and the communities they ultimately serve, and some that perhaps may be included. So I want, as we leave this cafe tonight, that we're left with a responsibility, not just to build better systems and to be better communicators, but to become better thinkers within the communications and within the systems field. So to ask, and always be comfortable, folks. That's what I want us to also get to be, to ask harder questions. You know, I try to get better at that. You know, I wear no crown. I try to ask, better questions and become more efficient with this, what I call toxic language that has been forced upon us. But I want us to ask harder questions and to design, even when we ask and we communicate with each other, to have more empathy. So this is the color of the conversation, where conversation is not casual; it's consequential. And tonight, the dialogue doesn't end here. We want you to continue this dialogue. I want you to really seek out this brother, to support him. He's already doing great things. You know, some people say he's going to do that. He's already doing great things, and with our support, it will be greater.